What's going on, Weekend Hangover Nation? I'm your boy Surf, and I'm back. Today I'm back with another NFL shopping list, and today I'm talking about the New York Giants. So let's keep our free agent primer rolling, up to 95 to New York. The Giants, to be fair, the expectations in 2019 were low, yet somehow the Giants still managed to underachieve, leading to a change in leadership. So in steps Joe Judge, who's coming in with some big talk behind him, saying that he expects his Giants team is going to punch teams in the nose for 60 minutes. I like that. I really do. I'm just going to remind Judge that you need players on that defense who can punch teams in the nose. And looking at that 2019 roster, I just don't see it, defensively at least. So let's take a look at some of the current building blocks Judge has at his disposal. He's got the young quarterback in Danny Dimes, who exceeded all expectations set for his rookie campaign. He's looked the part as franchise QB since he lit up the Jets during that first preseason game in 2019. Next, you've absolutely got your franchise running back in Saquon. His 2019 was slowed by injury, but he came back just fine. Still picked up 1,000 yards despite missing 3 games. At receiver, okay, I don't want to come off too negative, but can we finally stop overhyping Sterling Shepard? He's either banged up or not that good, but if I hear going into 2020, this is the year, watch out, once again, I'm going to slam my head against the table. On a more promising note, though, Darius Slayton, Mr. Overtop himself, looks like a steal. Looks like the steal from the 2019 draft. Him and Jones formed a formidable duo, especially on that deep ball, man. That was a thing of beauty. Can't wait to see how their games develop as they develop together. I mean, this is going to be nice. Next, with all that stuff I just said about Shepard, I'm going to sound like an absolute hypocrite, but I don't care. I am in love with Evan Ingram. I think he is amazing. I think he's great. I think he is just a mismatch every time he's on the field. Yeah, I know, he stays hurt. Hasn't played a full 16 games yet, and he's going into his 4th season. I don't care. When he's out there, he's the best receiving option on the field. He's a matchup nightmare, so I'm stressing patience with Ingram. Please, Giants, be patient with the man because he's just that good. Honestly, as a Birds fan, I'm a little worried that the Giants might run that funky bully ball 12 personnel that the Eagles like to run. Fill in Caden Smith, who ended up really finishing the season as one of the focal points in that passing game. He ended up putting together a really nice stretch down the end of the year. So, skilled positions are definitely a check. Now to that offensive line, which went from putrid to pretty good fairly quickly. The player I want to highlight is Will Hernandez. That was my dog running in the background, almost ruining the recording. I apologize. I'm going to keep it moving. Will Hernandez. I was a huge fan of his coming into the league, and he definitely hasn't disappointed. He's got a real nasty streak about him, which, oh, I love that with a guard. I like a guard who likes to put dudes on their butt and just keep it moving. Anyways, before I move on to the defense, I'm going to tell this dog to sit down, Minnie. Just sit down. Please. Please. Ruining the recording. Before I move on to the defense, I want to say punter Riley Dixon was a bright spot in 2019. He made his first Pro Bowl, and he was pinning teams all over the place. Kicker Aldrich Rojas was not. He was absolutely not. Accuracy has never been Rojas' strong suit, but, man, this year he only connected on 12 of 17 field goals, which is pretty awful. And maybe he should spend less time in hitting the bench press and more time working on the accuracy. I'm just saying. He's got some cannons for arms, but, dude, come on now. That accuracy's got to come up. Okay, so building blocks on that Giants defense starts with that D-line. I'm guessing with the amount that the Giants paid for Williams, the third-round draft pick, well, fourth round that will probably end up being a third-round draft pick, it's going to mean that they're going to have to try to keep Williams. I don't agree with them trying to keep Williams, but when you give up that type of draft haul, you got to at least make a run at him. The problem is, what do you pay the underachieving big man? I mean, he definitely didn't set the world on fire coming over from the Jets. He thought the change of scenery would make a difference, but it did not. Now, on the exact opposite of pieces the Giants desperately need to try to keep is Marcus Golden. Golden was a cheap flyer on that D-line, and coming into 2019, he looked like a one-year wonder. Then he showed he could be a dominant force, and now the Giants have to figure out a way to at least try to pay the man, right? So, lastly, I want to look at the huge human being that is Dexter Lawrence. I wasn't a big Lawrence fan coming out of Clemson. He's definitely, to me at least, he's all sizzle and no steak. He looks the part, shows enough flashes, but there's just something missing in his game. He's not a penetrating force, but he is a wall on that line, and he's going to have to do more moving forward. Okay, I'm looking at that linebacking core, and I'm going to say this. I'm by no means an Ogletree fan. I don't think it's a coincidence that the Rams got better the year he moved on from. He's one of the more overpaid players at his position. But that being said, he's the best thing the Giants have going for them at linebacker. And while his dead money hit isn't bad if they chose to cut him, I'd say I'd be shocked if the Giants tried to move on just because of the lack of pieces that are there. Unless they want to just go pure scorched earth, replace everything at linebacker. But still, I think I'd hold on to him, just to be honest. Now that at secondary, which was absolutely putrid in 2019, I think I was most impressed by the development of DeAndre Baker. Week by week, you could see him just get better. He's definitely not lacking in confidence, and when you're playing on an island, confidence is everything. So I really like Baker moving forward, and I also like the play of fellow 2019 rookie Julian Love. The Giants have two young pieces moving forward, and that's a beautiful thing. I want to point out that Jabril Peppers wasn't just a throw-in piece in that Odell Beckham trade. Arguably, I think he outplayed Odell in 2019. I also think he represents an upgrade over the incredibly one-dimensional Landon Collins. I think he's got, at least down on an athletic level, he's definitely an upgrade, especially against the pass. But he's not the tackle machine that Collins is either, though. So you give one, you take one, it's just the way it is. Okay, now that we've established the pieces moving forward, let's take a look at our shopping list for the Giants in the 2020 offseason, free agency. I feel like I'm going to over-focus on the defensive side of the ball, and don't blame me for that. I think that offensive side has things cooking. So the defense is a mess. I think you got to open that purse to try to fix it. Firstly, Patrick Graham, the Giants' new defensive coordinator, announced that he plans on being very versatile on his defensive philosophy. So versatility demands players to be such. So my number one target would be defensive lineman Chris Jones. He's 6'6", 310 pounds. The man is a mountain, and he's an absolute force in the backfield. So I think that would be absolutely awesome. For my money, I'd cut my losses with Leonard Williams. He's just not that good, and I'd put some of that towards that massive contract that Jones is going to demand. Who, honestly, next to Lawrence could be a nice force, man. I could see some nasty shit going out there. So my dollar store alternative to Jones, if you're not trying to spend that big money, would be Timmy Jernigan's from the Eagles. He's played in both the 3-4 with the Ravens and the 4-3 with the Eagles, and his stats don't exactly reflect his impact. Honestly, on that Super Bowl run, he was as big of a part to that defense as Fletcher Cox was, throughout the regular season especially. And that's what made him get paid by the Eagles. And he had that horrific back surgery, which will give teams pause and will cut down on his overall payment, especially on the longevity of any contract that teams are willing to give him. But towards the end of 2019, you could see that the man can still play. And he might be worth a flyer. He's only 27. Might be worth a flyer. Next, I'm going to look at the linebacking position. Judge is a New England guy, and I suspect he's going to try to poach some New England talent. I mean, it only makes sense, right? So I'm looking at that Jamie Collins. Collins has proven a few things in the NFL. One, he just is not that good outside the New England scheme. We saw him with the Browns, and it just wasn't the same. But in that scheme, which is the second part he proved, man, the man is one of the most versatile Swiss Army knife-like players in the game. Pass defense, rushing defense, high-volume tackling machine, literally does it all. And he's now hitting that 30 mark, which means that price tag should not be ridiculous. Finally, I'm going to finish up the Giants cast here with the cornerback position. I stated that I love the talent that they got in the 2019 draft. With young talent, you need to mix in veteran leadership, and the one guy that stands out to me that fits that bill to a T is Chris Harris. He brings Super Bowl experience, and yes, his numbers dipped in 2019, but he was an unhappy man playing for a god awful Denver team. He's been dreaming on moving on to greener pastures. So why not move on to the greener pastures of the Meadowlands? So I really like the idea of Harris on one side, Baker on the other side, and Love in the slot. Man, that could be some scary things coming out of New York in 2020. All right, guys, it's been another Weekend Hangover podcast. I'm your boy Surf. Hit us up with a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Hey, if you like what I said or dislike what I said, leave a comment. We can have some back and forth going. Catch you guys later.
Peace.